In the long run, I don't think it's possible or to dismiss Mabel as just a socialite who had a lot of time and money and dabbled in other people's lives. You look at Taos and you ask yourself the question, like, It's a Wonderful Life. What would Taos have been? What would Taos be like today if Mabel had never come to Taos, if we had never heard of her? So it's sort of like going back to Dasberg's first painting of her, when he was taken to one of her salons and was supposed to meet her, only to find out she wasn't there that night. So he did a painting called The Absence of Mabel Dodge, which was widely published in the New York Times and made fun of and reproduced sideways and upside down. But it becomes the question, the absence of Mabel Dodge in Taos, what would Taos be like? Well, start subtracting things one by one. Dasberg would never have come to Taos, very unlikely. He would have stayed on the East Coast, perhaps have become a much more famous artist, or remained a famous artist that he had already become on the East Coast. That's one big change that you would notice immediately if Mabel hadn't come to Taos. Of course, the big one was that D.H. Lawrence would never have come to Taos, and the whole Lawrence industry wouldn't exist. And of course, Tony Luhan would never become Mabel's husband. I mean, just sort of unravel it, going back a step at a time. A house that she had built for her son, John Evans, not the big house that he eventually inherited, but one a little bit south of town, became later Taos' first hospital. That wouldn't have happened. So you begin to see Mabel in a different light, that her being here really did influence a lot of things in Taos and the lives of a lot of people. What would have happened? D.H. Lawrence would have lived his life in a different way, but he was totally thrilled by the landscape of Taos. I think it was something that was truly great for him to have experienced. Wasn't what Mabel had wanted him to see and write about here, but it was what was here for him. It didn't change what he wrote and how he wrote, but it did give him a time in North America and then in Mexico, and a total experience that added to his creative life.